watching the Urban Debate on Mirror. Now, I'm Faye D'souza. Now, before we go to the headlines, of course, the biggest story of the day is the RBI's transfer of 1.76 lakh crore rupees based on the Bimal Jalan committee report today to the government of India. Now, the Finance Minister, Dy Sitaraman, has defended the move, saying the government had no influence whatsoever on the committee report, and the esteemed committee was put together by the RBI itself, who decided to transfer the money to the government. But the opposition has asked several questions about this. Now, our viewers, I just want to remind you, if you remember in December last year, former RBI Governor Urjit Patel resigned unceremoniously and quite shockingly. One of the flashpoints between the RBI and the government that is said to have caused that resignation was this point: how much money out of the RBI's reserve would be transferred to the government. Now, the RBI is supposed to transfer a certain amount of money to the government every year, but it's a decision that has rested with the RBI so far. Urjit Patel and his deputy governor had suggested more than once that the government was infringing on the autonomy or the RBI's ability to make the decision for themselves. After Urjit Patel resigned, the decision was then transferred to the committee, a panel that was set up to make that decision. That panel has now decided to transfer 1.76 lakh crore rupees, what seems like a very large amount of money, to the government that has been transferred in the last several years. Just to give you an idea, from 2013-14 until last year, the transfer was between 52,000 crore rupees to 40,000 crore rupees, and now we are at 1,76,000 crore rupees. Joining me on the show, on the phone, on the show right now is Rakesh Mohan. Dr. Rakesh Mohan is the former RBI governor and also a member of the panel that made this decision to transfer this money, or made this recommendation to transfer this money. Dr. Mohan, good evening and thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time here on Mirror. Now, my first question to you is your response to the criticism that the government has come under because of this decision, that it is raiding the coffers or the reserves of the RBI. What is your response to that criticism?
First, let me correct you. I was former deputy governor and not governor.
I beg your pardon.
Just for the record.
Yes.
Second, I think that the total amount of 1.76 lakh crores is a misrepresentation of what the Jalan committee itself recommended. Now, let's be clear on this, that every year, by law, the Reserve Bank of India has to transfer all its surpluses for the year to the government, after making some provisions for the risk buffer that it ought to have. So the number of 1.76 lakh crores has to be looked at first, that the total surplus for 2018-19 was something like 1.22 lakh crores, and or 1.24, something of that order. And the excess, the so-called excess capital that the committee suggested has come to around 52,000 crores. Now, that also needs to be put in perspective, that the finance minister is absolutely correct, that the committee gave an independent report. There was a finance ministry representative on the committee, and in the final report, it was signed by the current Finance Secretary and Secretary of Financial Services, Mr. Rajiv Kumar. So it is totally unanimous report. Now, what the committee recommended was not any particular numbers in terms of crores, but principles behind how the Reserve Bank balance sheet should be treated. So let me give us a little bit of background first, and then I'll come to the committee's recommendations. First, you'll recall that the former Chief Economic Advisor in 2015-16 in the Economic Survey had calculated that the excess reserves of the Reserve Bank was something of the order of 3 lakh crores plus. Now, that is clearly incorrect, and it was a misreading of how a central bank balance sheet is actually looked at. So let me first mention that when you look at any balance sheet, you have to look at both the asset side and the liability side. And what has been done in the media prior to the committee formation was it was exclusive focus on the liability side. But you also have to look at the asset side. Number one. Number two, and I'll come back to that in a second. Number two, the balance sheet of a central bank is a consequence of its policy mandate. It is not the balance sheet does not drive a central bank's policies. The balance sheet is actually a consequence of its policy mandate. And let me try and explain what I mean by that. That on the asset side, the Reserve Bank of India, like other central banks, has a certain amount of foreign exchange reserves and what you call net foreign assets, and it has a certain amount of domestic assets. Now, in our case, in India, the foreign exchange reserves are meant to keep external stability, which is a policy mandate of the Reserve Bank, so that as we get any excess capital flows, the Reserve Bank intervenes in the foreign exchange market, buys foreign exchange and that goes into its reserves. And those reserves are invested in foreign securities, basically normally government securities of the major convertible currencies, essentially the euro, the dollar, some in the sterling, some in yen, etc.
Yes, Dr. Mahul.
Let me just explain.
Yes.
As it happens, in the last 10 years, the foreign exchange reserves have amounted to something between 60 and 90% of the assets of the Reserve Bank. Right now, it's about 70% or thereabouts of the assets. The other 30% at present now are government securities. Now, as it happens, in the past year, that is 2018-19, there was almost no net capital inflow into the country after accounting for the current account deficit. So the Reserve Bank, in order to do its other policy mandate, that is liquidity management and monetary policy, actually bought something like 70% of all government bonds issued net in the year. And therefore, there was an increase in the stock of or domestic government securities, and of course, their proportion. Now, the consequence of that is that because Indian government securities have a much higher interest rate, say around 7% or something of that order these days, while foreign securities have 1-2% or something of that order, and therefore the surplus of the Reserve Bank increased significantly in this past year. And therefore, the surplus came to something like 1.22 lakh crores. And by law, the Reserve Bank has to transfer that, and that's exactly what it has done. And because the assessment of the committee was that on the recommendation of the committee, first, the committee was very clear that on the liability side, the Reserve Bank has revaluation reserves. Now, when you have foreign exchange reserves in dollars, the Reserve Bank of India's balance sheet, of course, is denominated in rupees. So any time that the rupee depreciates, for example, the volume or the magnitude of the foreign exchange reserves goes up in rupee terms. And therefore, there has to be an accounting entry on the liability side to balance it on the asset side. And that's how the revaluation reserves have been built up. And as standard accounting conventions everywhere in the world, including in India, revaluation reserves are never available for distribution. And that's exactly what the committee observed against what many observers had been saying in the past. So first point of the committee's recommendations that the revaluation reserves cannot be distributed. And they account for something like 20-23% of the balance sheet. What remains then on the liability side is around is just under 7%, 6, I think it was 6.8% or so of the balance sheet, which were in the contingency reserve buffer. And the committee recommended. Let me just finish. The committee then recommended that the Reserve Bank ought to maintain a contingency reserve buffer between 5.5 to 6.5% of the balance sheet, and currently it was around 6.8. The Reserve Bank board, of course, yesterday decided that it would go to the lower bound, that is 5.5%. Therefore, the difference between 6.8 and 5.5% came to 52,000 crores, and so that's what it has decided to transfer.
Right. Okay. My question, Dr. Mohan, if I may.
I conclude my summary on that. Yeah.
if I may, on that very point you just talked about, the contingency fund, which the panel recommended remain between 6.5 and 5.5, and the board has chosen to keep it at the lower end of 5.5. From what we understand, this is the lowest contingency fund that will be maintained by the RBI in the history of the fund itself, and it reduces perhaps the RBI's ability to maneuver in the future. Do you think it might be? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Is that reason for concern?
No, as I said, that the committee came to the conclusion that it was safe according to our risk assessment to have the buffer between 5.5 and 6.5. Now, one consequence, which I should mention, of the Reserve Bank Board's decision to take the lower bound, one consequence of this is that next year, when the board meets again after they get the accounts for 2019-20, what this will mean is that obviously what's been happening also is that the Reserve Bank's balance sheet has been increasing at roughly the same rate as nominal GDP, which has been around 10% or so a year in the last 10 years or so. Now, what this means is that as the Reserve Bank's balance sheet expands by, say, 10%, could be some other number as well, but say, if the last 10 years experience is maintained, it'll expand by around 10%. And what this means is to then keep even the lower bound next year, the Reserve Bank board will then have to decide to allocate from the surpluses it gets next year.
Yes.
That to keep it at 5.5%, it'll probably have to retain around 20,000 crores next year just to keep it at 5.5%.
All right.
And of course, higher if they want to increase the number.
Right. Dr. Mohan, thank you so much for explaining that to us. And of course, the other interesting part, which of course not the responsibility of the panel, was the fact that the panel's report came out today. And it was assumed that the RBI board would deliberate, discuss the report, and then make their decision over the next couple of days. That the RBI's board has decided to make the decision on the amount to be transferred on the same day as just the day after the panel report came out. But we're going to leave it there. Again, I thank you, Dr. Mohan, for spending time with us, explaining to us how the panel arrived at the number in response to the criticism that the government has received about allegedly raiding the reserves of the RBI. We'll come back to the story closer to 9 p.m. With a group of analysts who will look at what this means for the government and for the RBI going forward. But for the time being, I'm going to change focus to another story that we're focusing on right now, and that is the story of Mahul. Now, you'll remember that over the last year and a half on this channel, we focused on what's going on with Mahul. This is our continuing focus. Citizens, women, children are having to deal with poison water and poison air for the last couple of years as they've been relocated by the government into a place that is too close to the refineries and factories for them to be able to live safely. Now, the Maharashtra government actually went to the Supreme Court against an order that was read out by the Bombay High Court, ordering the government to either relocate those people or give them rent. The Bombay High Court today once again came down very heavily on the Maharashtra state government for failing to make decisions about that rent or alternate accommodation. The state government had asked the court for more time. The court refused to give the state government more time. It has been a long and tedious battle for the 30,000 people who are living in Mahul, for whom every day is a death sentence. Disha Shah, who's been tracking that story from day one, gives us more details. Disha is live with us at this point. Disha, the High Court, of course, did say that it will give us a decision today. I know that a lot of people in Mahul were very hopeful. You yourself, who've been focusing on this story, for the last 2 years, it would have been nice to have the order actually come out on your birthday, but maybe not today, Disha. When can we expect the order to come out?
Well, Faye, like you pointed out, right, along with 30,000 residents, we, the channel, of course, we were very hopeful that the Bombay High Court order would come out today because as directed by the court last week, the 27th August will be the final timeline and the deadline that the state government and BMC both will get to decide on either of the options, giving them alternate accommodation or paying them rent of close to 15,000 rupees along with 45,000 30,000 rupees as security deposit for 3 months. But today also it was as usual, Faye, the state government asked for some more time, to which the Bombay High Court denied, refused, saying that no more time will be given. The good thing what happened, Faye, that along with 30,000 residents, there are other project affected people who will also benefit from this order. And that is why what we know for the fact that today the Bombay High Court has decided and directed that all the petitions related to this entire matter will be merged and one common order will be passed on 3rd of September, which is exactly a week from now, this year, which will be applicable for everyone per se, all the people who were being forced to move to Mahul by the state government in concern. Little bit disappointed, of course, residents were, but quite hopeful because the court has now said that no more time will be given to the state government. And now it is the time to decide. We'll straight away speak to the residents. I have residents with me who have been protesting here right on footpath since last 304 days. Fe, आप बताइए, आज जो है कोर्ट की तरफ से फैसला आने वाला था, हालांकि उन्होंने बताया है कि एक हफ्ते के बाद वो जो है फैसला लेंगी कि आपको शायद से रेंट देंगे या तो घर आपको मिलेगा। आप कितने होपफुल है उसके बारे में? आपको लगता है कि सरकार और समय लेगी?
हाँ, मुझे ऐसा लगता है ये सरकार तो समय कितने, अभी 2 साल हो गए, तीसरा साल चालू है, समय लेते लेते हम लोग यहाँ तक आए। अभी हर गौर गरीब की ज़िंदगी खतरे में है, ये बात उनको पता है। आईआईटी का रिपोर्ट आया है, एनजीटी का रिपोर्ट आया है कि रहने लायक जगह नहीं है, फिर भी ये लोग कैसे चुप बैठे हैं? अगर इनके परिवार का कोई सदस्य होता तो ये लोग क्या करते? हाँ, गौर गरीब के ऊपर इनको सही न्याय करना चाहिए। चेयर पे बैठे बड़े बड़े आश्वासन देते हैं, अपने आश्वासन को इनको संभालने को नहीं आता है, तो क्यों बैठे हैं चेयर पे? चेयर खाली करो और किसी गौर गरीब को वहाँ पर बिठाओ ना। अपना जो दिया है काम वो पूरा पार करना चाहिए। हम लोग भारत देश के नागरिक हैं और हम लोग यहाँ पर रहते हैं, लेकिन हम खुली श्वास नहीं ले सकते हैं। ये पानी पीने से बीमारी इतनी बढ़ गई है कि हर एक इंसान कैसा अपना गुजारा करते हैं उसको ही पता है। नौकरी से भी बेघर हो गए हैं, कॉलेज गया है, बच्चों लोग का स्कूल छूट गई है और स्किन प्रॉब्लम, कैंसर, टीबी ऐसी बीमारी ने जकड़ लिया है लोगों को। अरे लोग ऐसा अपना जान ले लेके कैसा ऐसे तड़प रहे हैं दीदी, मैं आपको क्या बताऊं। वो बहुत बहुत परेशान है। हम लोग को लग रहा है कि अभी कल का जो दिन निकलेगा या नहीं निकलेगा, इतने परेशान है, पता नहीं कल दिन देख पाएंगे या नहीं देख पाएंगे।
Faye, to what she is saying, taking a cue of that, the state government did ask for some more time, saying that they want to come up with another comprehensive survey of Mahul, to which the Bombay High Court judge very categorically said that IIT Bombay has come out with a report where serious pollution level is there as far as air and water is concerned, with refineries and chemical factories so close to the buildings here. Even when you enter, there's a strong odor. So that of course says everything. And despite having so many reports since the last 3 years, why did the government fail to act? So this was the words of the Bombay High Court judge today. We'll get another word in here. आप लोग का ये 2 साल से ज्यादा जर्नी रहा है, बैटल रहा है, फाइट रहा है, आप लोग का आश्वासन सब जगहों से मिला है, चीफ मिनिस्टर से लेके मुंबई मेयर तक, बट ग्राउंड लेवल पे कुछ इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुआ है। अभी 1 हफ्ते के बाद जो ऑर्डर पास करेंगे, आपको रेंट या घर दोनों में से एक ऑप्शन दिया जाएगा। आप कुछ क्या मतलब आप क्या कहना चाहते हो उसके बारे में?
देना चाहते हो तो जल्दी दे दो ऑर्डर, जो भी देना चाहते हो वो जल्दी ऑर्डर दे दो। घर या रेंट देना चाहते हो जल्दी दे दो। हम अपनी जान तो बचा सकते हैं, इसलिए हम बोलते हैं कि जल्दी से जल्दी ऑर्डर पास करो। कोर्ट का भी वक्त मत जाया करो, आदमी को भी जीने का हक दे दो। बस इतना चाहते हैं। सरकार को भी यही बोलना चाहते हैं कि आप भी ज़रा देखो, ज़रा ध्यान दो। बस भ्रष्टाचार और इसके पीछे मत दौड़ो कि लोगों की जान कैसे बचना चाहिए, उसके भी पीछे दौड़ो।
So here we heard the residents say, so for the last 300 days, just to live a very good air, they have been protesting right here on the footpath. You can see they have set up their kitchen here. They actually sleep here on the footpath because they say this is their second home. This is the place where their houses were demolished. We are near Tansa pipeline. So this is how they have been living for the last 300 days, and they are very hopeful that in another week at least there will be some decision which can help them move out of this toxic hellhole in concern. And another good thing, Faye, along with these 30,000 residents residents, there are another 30,000 residents which were yet to be shifted from Tansa pipeline, and they were also being asked to move to Mahul. So if this Bombay High Court order really comes through on 3rd of September this year, then all of those project affected people will also be benefited with this order. So it is not only about 30,000 residents here, but the strength can go up to 60,000 residents once this Bombay High Court order comes in.
All right, Disha, thank you for bringing us that update. My colleague Disha Shah there, spending her birthday on the footpath with people who have been battling this case. Remember, the people of Mahul have been at this for several years. Disha joined that fight along with the Mirror Now team about 2 years ago, and she's been fighting that, fighting alongside them this entire time. Joining me on the show, Karuna Nandi, senior lawyer with the Supreme Court. Debbie Goenka is an environmentalist. We'll also have Bilal Khan of the Gar Bachao, Gar Banao Andolan, who's been working with the residents of Mahul. Mr. Goenka, the High Court was very, was angry, to say the least. And I just want to quote, it said, you want to challenge the NGT order and say that you will appoint an IIT team to do a survey. The survey was done, pollution was found, and now you've gone and challenged the Bombay High Court order in the Supreme Court. Find a solution now. This is what the court has said to the Maharashtra government. Do you think that we can be hopeful now that the Maharashtra government will do something?
I don't think they have a choice anymore. I think they've painted themselves into a corner. And they will either have to shift these people to a more healthier place or give them the money to rent a place wherever they want. It's very, very unfortunate. I think the site where the SRA complex was built was wrong to begin with. Nobody would want to build 15 meters away from two refineries.
Yes.
And it was also a CRZ violation, something that the then MP had taken up and questions were asked in Parliament. And despite all that, how the complex was allowed to be built is another question that we need to really look into. The fact remains that the site is completely uninhabitable. It's a very unsafe site. In the event of a disaster, evacuation would be almost impossible. So I think the sooner the government takes a decision to move these people out, the better it would be.
You know, one of the arguments, and I just want to point out to our audience that no one from either the BJP or the Shiv Sena wanted to be part of this conversation. They just chose, they said, we don't want to talk about this, which is very convenient because then you don't have to answer any questions. But one of the arguments that we've been offered up till now is the fact that people have been living in a village in Mahul before any of this happened. So why is it that the people in the village are not complaining, but the people in the SRA are?
No, I think the people in the village have been complaining. They had also gone to the NGT many years ago, and unfortunately they didn't get a very good order. A lot of them also work in the refineries and so on, so maybe that's a factor that influences their decision. But I would say that living in that vicinity is very, very hazardous.
Yes.
And I have gone to the site very often in the past. I find that, if I stay there for more than a few minutes, I start wheezing and breathlessness and so on. So I really don't think it's a safe site at all from.
So it's beyond a shadow of doubt now that this is an unsafe place for human beings to reside.
That's right.
Or for any animals even for that matter to reside. Because we have every single report that has said so. Every single investigation has said so. But somehow the Maharashtra government is just not budging. And we're going to need a really harsh order from the court in order to make the Maharashtra government do the needful, right?
See, what I would like to say, Faye, is that the air quality in Mumbai is not good at all. Generally, across the board, the air quality is pathetic. The problem in Mahul is that these people are exposed to a whole range of petrochemicals and volatile organic carbons, some of which are carcinogenic, all of which have adverse health impacts. So these guys are exposed to an extra layer or two of very hazardous chemicals. So I think all in all, the state government really has to take a very drastic step to clean up the air quality in Mumbai. And the other alternative is shut down the refinery, shut down the fertilizer factory, shut down the power plants, and let those people stay there without pollution.
Right. I just want to bring in Karuna Nandi, who's a senior lawyer with the Supreme Court. Ms. Nandi, good evening and thank you for joining us. This has unfortunately been a pattern where the poorest people have the weakest voice when it comes to getting justice or the attention of government. Now, despite the fact, and we've reported this every time, that the Bombay High Court has decided in favor of the people of Mahul, the Maharashtra government doesn't seem moved at all.
It's amazing to me because even after these very sort of stringent and strong directions from the Bombay High Court, okay, they went to the Supreme Court and that's their right and they have a particular view. But the point is that if you are a democratically elected government, why this process of legal filibustering when you have an NGT that has recorded, for instance, that there is benzylopyrene that these residents are being forced to consume, that the KEM hospital has recorded that there's toluene. Now, these are some of the most toxic substances known to man, right? Known to the scientific community. And these are chemicals that the residents of the area are consuming, and every single delay here leads to a further poisoning of each person who is living there. I imagine this is one of the reasons why the Bombay High Court is so upset and so angry with them, because first they said that, you know, you have the NEERI and the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board. That it disappoints me, the lack of objectivity in those reports. Why do we constantly have to bring in external parties like the IIT? Because we have faith in their neutrality. Why are governments not serving the people? Why are government agencies serving other government agencies? You know, the IIT reports, you know, as you know, Faye, because your channels has been doing an excellent job in pursuing this date after date after date, because what we usually find in court cases where there is this kind of extensive injustice is that the media gets interested at, you know, highlights, and then the case goes down the drain, and only in the end, after everything is done, does anyone wake up. So, you know, kudos to you all for shining the light, and to Trisha, whose birthday it is and who, as you said, is on the pavement today. Spending it very well, I think. So the thing is that now we see the Bombay High Court has lost its patience with due cause, and let us see the order that it gives on September 3rd. Hopefully it will bring some swift relief to the residents of Mahul, and let the message go out to the people of Bombay and the people of Maharashtra that the BMC and the government that they have elected are not serving the citizens at all. That it is the court that is standing up for their fundamental rights, and that the policy, I mean, that fundamental rights were not complied with when the issue was with the government to solve. And already the level of poisoning that will have happened, because 80% of the residents, the diseases that they are complaining of, the IIT report says, are linked to the environmental toxicity and poisonous nature of the Mahul area.
Right. I also want to bring in Bilal. Bilal Khan is with the Ghar Bachao Ghar Banao Andolan. He's in fact also at the pavement or the footpath where Disha is currently with the residents. Bilal ji, आप कोर्ट में थे आज, आप तो हर बार कोर्ट जाते हो रेजिडेंट्स के साथ, क्या आप बता सकते हो कि गवर्नमेंट के लॉयर ने, गवर्नमेंट के वकील ने क्या आर्गुमेंट की? What was the argument placed by the government before the court today?
The government again wanted to buy some more time. They said that they want to do another comprehensive report, do a monitoring of the air in Mahul, which the court denied, and instead said that the odor in itself is a hard evidence. The pungent smell, the foul smell in Mahul is a hard evidence to show that how toxic that neighborhood is, and denied what the government was seeking. I also want to point out one, during the discussion I heard that it's a lie which is spread by the government that the villagers who originally, Mahul is a traditional village of fishing community who have been living there since centuries, that these people don't complain about the pollution. But the fact is that these are those people who approached the NGT originally, and it is in their matter that the NGT had observed that how toxic the Mahul is and why people should not be allowed to live there. And this observation came in 2015. Despite having such strong observation about the air in Mahul, the government decided to send more people to Mahul. And now whoever is dying in Mahul is not, these are not deaths, these are the murder led by the state government. So we wanted to just clarify this, that everybody living in Mahul is suffering, and they want some solution. On one hand, the villagers want some of the industry to be shut down, whereas these people who were brought down in Mahul from different places want to go back to the safer places wherever they were living in the vicinity of their original neighborhood. So today the court, even in the previous hearing, the court advised government to not discriminate among poor and rich, and also advised that poor should be treated with dignity, they should be given some priority, and when it is a matter of life and death, their matters should be addressed with urgency, which the government seems to be not taking any advice from the court and still trying to buy more and more time and leading more and more people to die. So on the next hearing, we are hoping that some justice will be done to the resident who are suffering badly because of the toxic air in Mahul.
Well, the other thing that we must point out, along with the fact that Ms. Nandi said quite clearly that the citizens of Maharashtra and Mumbai and of Mahul need to realize that government agencies are not serving the citizens right now, they're serving each other. The thing that we have to realize from an environmental point of view, Mr. Goenka, is that that air, now we're talking and we're fighting right now to move these 30,000 citizens away from those factories, further away from those factories. But that air is coming into the rest of Mumbai. So locations like Chembur, Kurla, Vadala, which is right in front of those factories, this is the air that they're also breathing. So this is not a problem that is limited to the people who are living in Mahul. This is a problem for Mumbai, isn't it?
I agree, which is why I said the air quality in Mumbai is actually very bad. And these kind of chemical factories and petrochemical factories and refineries actually emit a lot of carcinogenic chemicals. And these are actually quite lethal.
So actually, the low-hanging fruit here at this point for those of us who are fighting for these human rights is to move the people out. But the real fight should be to move the factories out. Isn't that true?
So if Maharashtra government is planning a 100 million ton refinery down the Konkan coast, there's no reason to have two small refineries in Mumbai, which were built 70 years ago, which are outdated, probably obsolete. There's no need to have coal-fired power plants when renewable energy is sweeping the world.
Is there a risk of explosions here? Because there has been one in the last 1 year.
Of course, refineries are very high-risk locations because they store a lot of flammable liquids, and some of them are processed under high temperatures and high pressures. So the risk of explosion is very high. And as I mentioned earlier, there is no safety zone. These houses are located just a few meters away from
450 meters away from, from the
And if
from
there's
the
a blast, God
yes.
forbid, God help these poor people.
Yes. So that last question to Ms. Karuna Nandi. Ms. Nandi, here's the risk also that there could be an explosion in these refineries. These people are 450 meters away from, from the refinery. Everywhere else in the world, the buffer zone is about 5 kilometers and nowhere less than that. But here in the city of Mumbai, we have a completely flammable risk, a risk-causing, pollution-causing area, and the government is not even considering moving them out.
The sad thing is, Faye, that in this country, the law is very good on these issues. Basically, that they ought to have followed the precautionary principle, which is that you use the best technology available in the world in order to make sure that there is firstly, a preservation of human life and also a limiting of pollution. And the second is where the substance or the process is inherently hazardous, then you have the principle of strict and absolute liability. Strict and absolute liability. So the thing is that rather than making sure that the processes from the beginning were safe, not only did they fail to limit the risk of explosion, they have actively moved people into the area and put them in harm's way so that if an explosion happens, then this is something that these people would all suffer from, and piling on their egregious negligence. They have failed, despite the court taking cognizance, to do anything about it and kept on delaying. This is, if we see the Bhopal gas disaster, it happened due to very, very similar reasons, very similar layers of negligence, very similar letting factories kind of shop around the world and come, in that case, and come to the bottom of the regulatory pile, which was India at the time. They actively did this. Now here we have a situation that is very, similar in very important ways, but here you have the government's involvement in a much, much greater way, in a much, much more active way. And the fact that the government is affirmatively involved in putting these people in harm's way is should be more shocking, but given that it's taken years in which that they have done so and failed to do anything about it, it's, at this point desperately sad. So let us wait for September 3rd and let us hope that the court's order, moves them into action.
Right. So I want to thank my panelists for being kind enough to give us your time this evening, and we put our faith entirely in the hands of the Bombay High Court for your order on the 3rd of September. Like Ms. Sandhi pointed out, our entire faith in establishment, in democracy, in fundamental rights is now in the hands of the High Court. These people are desperately in need of help, and the help can only come from the court that needs to instruct the Maharashtra government to simply stop murdering your own citizens. These citizens have to be moved out of that location where they're all dying. Babies, little small babies are dying from complete, and this is no longer neglect. Neglect would have been if the government did not know. This is just outright attempt to murder. The government doesn't care about these babies. The government actually went to Supreme Court appealing against these babies. It's unfair and it's not right. We will, of course, wait until the 3rd of September to hear what the final judgment is of the Bombay High Court. We're moving on to the state of Karnataka, where the portfolios were allocated to Karnataka ministers on Monday. The state, interestingly, gets 3 deputy chief ministers. These are their names: Laxman, Savadi, along with Govind Karjol and Ashwath Narayan. Now, Laxman Savadi, you'll remember, is the very same BJP MLA who was caught watching pornography in the Assembly House in 2012. This was back when Yediyurappa was Chief Minister of the state. He lost. He was then asked to step down and apologize. He lost the elections that took place in Karnataka last year. Despite the fact that he is not an elected member of the Assembly, he is the BJP's choice for the deputy chief minister. So here is someone who watched pornography, who is obviously disrespectful of women, who lost an election, which means he is not a chosen representative of the people, and he has been picked to be deputy chief minister. Now, citizens and opposition leaders have questioned the move, but this is what the sources tell us. He has a huge Lingayat following, which is important to the government at this point, and he has organizational skills that have apparently helped a great deal in fundraising that has given him the role of deputy chief minister of the state. It makes us ask the question, what about merit? What about the fact that people who become chief ministers have to be elected members of government? Let's now ask this question of the government of Karnataka. V.S. Ugrappa, former member of parliament and senior Congress leader, joins us along with Leo Saldana, who's a citizen voice, Brinda Adige, who is an activist who has been with us on so many different conversations, and S. Srinath, spokesperson of the BJP. Let me start the conversation with Mr. Ugrappa, who joins us right now. Mr. Ugrappa, good evening. This has obviously come as a surprise for most citizens across the state of Karnataka, that this individual, Mr. Savadi, has been named Deputy Chief Minister. Has there been any explanation that's been offered to the opposition, at least, in this matter?
See, ultimately, BJP people have no respect for democracy. They have no respect for Constitution of India. And they have no respect for people's mandate. That is why they have tried their best to topple the coalition government in a dubious manner. And they managed to make them resign. About 17 MLAs have resigned in the name of operation of Kamala, that is Lotus. So consequently, Mr. Yediyurappa, he became the Chief Minister of Karnataka. So now he has been facing lot of dissidence among the legislators of his own party. So that is why, to satisfy some of the sections of the BJP, they have made 3 deputy chief ministers. It is a first of its kind in the history of Karnataka. This one. It is only for safeguarding their interests. There is no any sort of commitment to go for a development or to safeguard the interests of the people. The people of Karnataka, they have been suffering because of this severe floods, because of in some area there is a drought also. In fact, more than 103 taluks are under the floods. No action has been taken to provide food or to medicine or to drinking water or to fodder to the cattle or to provide a suitable shelter for them. So similarly, in the drought affected areas, people are migrating from villages to cities. So no action has been initiated either by the government of Karnataka or by the union government. In fact, see, we have been demanding the union government as well as the state government to declare this situation as a national calamity. And we have been demanding Prime Minister to have at least aerial survey to know the severity of floods and to release at least minimum 5,000 crores to take up developmental activities and to provide basic amenities to the people of Karnataka, which they have not done. So far, the union government has released only 203 crores, that too in NDRF fund. So in fact, as a matter of rights, government of Karnataka has a right to get, I think, 350 crores under NDRF. Hello?
Yes, yes. In fact, sir, I just want to bring in Ms. Brinda Adige, who's also with us. Ms. Adige, as a woman of the state, I know that when this entire controversy of ministers watching pornographic clips inside of the assembly came up, there were several women in the state who found it extremely offensive. I mean, we should be doubly offended at this point that this person has been brought back to be Deputy Chief Minister.
Absolutely, it was offensive. It is an insult to the women of the state. What is that Chief Minister doing by getting somebody who's not elected? First and foremost, it is not democracy. You cannot have somebody come in over there when they have not won the elections. But secondly, how do you insult the women, the citizens of this state? This is a person who was watching porn in the assembly, not in his bedroom, not in his private space. So this is the kind of impunity that he showed over there. How is it that you decide that this man can sit there and actually make policies of safety, of protection, of development for women? I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. Not only is it offensive, it is insulting, and it also goes to show that they have no regard for all of the women who cast their vote. No regard. You cast your vote, you don't cast your vote, you get somebody that they make a choice of. A person who was not accepted, who has not been selected or elected by the people of the state. Absolutely unacceptable. How is it that the BJP party continues to even accept something like this? Who made these decisions? Is this a mercenary decision that you make in a democracy when you are using the people's taxes? How dare you do something like this? Are you saying that people should forgive him? This is not something that is begging any kind of forgiveness. That was a crime, and he has not been booked for it. And that is another insult to all the citizens, not just the women, all the citizens of this state.
Yes.
I think the BJP party has to come forward and take cognizance of something like this and change this person.
Absolutely, roll back that appointment. S. Srinath, so spokesperson of the BJP in Karnataka, joins us right now. Mr. Srinath, where is the justification for this? Are you effectively telling us that the entire state of Karnataka, you could not find a single individual who could do the job of Deputy Chief Minister who didn't have a track record like this? This is the only individual you could find in all of Karnataka?
You see one thing. What has happened, there were two ministers who were into that particular problem, and both of them resigned from the ministry. They moved out. Then Mr. Savadi fought an election. He lost by about 300-400 votes. Very narrow margin.
No, loss is loss, Mr. Srinath. That's
and
not how it works. Very small margin, 300 votes doesn't count. That means the people have not forgiven him.
That particular issue was, no. The people are with him. You cannot say that they were not with him or whatever it is. He has missed out shortly. And secondly, for this was being recorded, and the other person did not get the ticket to contest also. The party has taken action. I don't think Brinda need to be very this one about somebody's political life itself. She cannot end on this particular note because he has been punished. He resigned from the post of minister. He moved out. Now why we have considered him is an issue. We have considered him because we are developing a new leadership in those areas, and we feel that he is a dynamic person, dynamic enough to build as a potential leader for that segment, and that is one of the main reasons why he has been brought in, even though he had lost the elections.
Okay,
Secondly,
so let me one second. Let me ask you another question. Is it not true, Mr. One second, Mr. Srinath.
You want me to move to that or not?
No, one second. No, I don't want you to move to that. Is it not true that this individual, when the local channels, one second, when the local channels were carrying the story of him watching pornography in the assembly, he cut off the power supply to his constituency as minister at that time to make sure people in his constituency don't see that story. Is that not true? This is the individual you are building as future leadership.
Hello? No. You cannot, no. With the electronic media life, that day he might cut and the media would certainly play it around. I don't think there is, that way you cannot fool people. I don't agree with that concept that you can keep those people in darkness and try to make them vote. No, that is not possible.
No, even I don't agree with it, which is why this man lost the election. Okay, so tell me this. Tell me this.
It happened.
Fine. Tell me this.
What
so you are telling me that this individual who was watching pornography inside the assembly is the most qualified individual within the BJP at this point to be Deputy Chief Minister.
Hello.
You see, now there were two of them. How it happened, the speaker had made an inquiry on that, and based on that he resigned from the minister's post, and then now it has moved into this one.
No, that's not the question. I'm not asking you what happened then. I know what happened then. No. One second. Mr. Srinath, you're not answering my question.
You see,
is he the most qualified person in the BJP?
You want me to prove that it is right to see that? No, I won't say that. It is not right to see a porno, this one in a public place, sitting in an assembly. Okay, agreed. That is one of the major issues, agreed. I don't deny that. Yeah, it is not correct to see that. Agreed. I am not trying to substantiate what he has done. But he was punished for that, and the other man did not get the ticket also.
Mr. Srinath, you're saying the same thing over and over again.
No.
So I'm just going to give Mr. Srinath a few minutes to think about his answer while I take this back to Mr. Ugrappa. Mr. Srinath, my question is this individual the most qualified person in the BJP in Karnataka? Is your best guy? Tell us. Then we'll know what the rest of your guys are like. Mr. Ugrappa, go ahead.
See,
hello. Madam, it is very clear.
Let me hear Ugrappa and then I'll answer
so,
that.
because of phonography...
Yes, Mr. Ugrappa, go ahead.
Hello. Because of phonography, he was resigned. And thereafter, in general elections of 2018,
he resigned from the post of minister.
The voters of that particular constituency, they punished him. They punished him. This is one. So, in spite of there is a people's mandate against that man, these Manavadis, because this Bharatiya Janata Party, they believes Manodharma Shastra. They have no respect for women. They have no respect for social justice.
Why not? You also believe in that.
That is why.
You also believe
they
that.
Have chosen,
that is wrong.
This man.
No, you are trying to bring scriptures in the negative way, Mr. Ugrappa. It is not
organizer.
Fair.
Say when he has no morality, when he has no respect for women, so what better administration he can give? So ultimately, it shows Bharatiya Janata Party.
Mr. Ugrappa, I don't want to go into the scandals which happened and you did not remove the minister. Why are you talking this?
That is why they have chosen
Mr.
three
Ugrappa, I don't know what are you talking about morality. Where is your morality, sir?
This is the unfortunate part. As citizens, we have to listen to politicians fight over...
Mr. Srinath,
Could you arrange that? Thank you. Leo Saldana is a citizen voice who joins us right now. Mr. Saldana, unfortunately, this is what we have to deal with. What the BJP is telling us is that this individual on your screen right now who chose to sleepily watch pornography inside an assembly while it was in session, while there was a debate on, when his job was to listen and actually, take part in that debate, he was watching pornography. Effectively, the BJP is telling us that this is the best person they have in that camp, which means everybody else in that camp is worse than this man. As a citizen, Mr. Saldana, have you forgiven this individual enough to make him your Deputy Chief Minister?
Far from forgiving, I think what we must recognize is that Karnataka has its rock bottom in moral standards and political standards for the past 2 months. And what of these appointments of Deputy CM indicates is that we are now scratching the bottom and bowing our head shame.
It's the kind of appointment one cannot even believe is possible in any form of modern politics. And Savadi is a person who is also, in his speeches, been coming across as a highly misogynist person. Patriarchy is deep-rooted in RSS philosophy, and RSS is the bedrock of BJP's politics. But the interesting point is that RSS always has promoted itself as a cultural standard, as a standard apart from what they called the Congress had made morass of our politics. But this is our RSS standard now. So I think we have to be very clear that people of Karnataka have the misfortune of not only having a circus as a cabinet. We didn't have a government for almost a month. Now we have a cabinet with 3 deputy CMs, and one of them is Savadi. And he's not even elected. So I don't know which way we are headed, but certainly I think this is not what we deserve.
Well, let me just ask Mr. Srinath another pointed question. Mr. Srinath, here's the question. Is it not true that Mr. Savadi has been appointed because he does bring in a certain amount of Lingayat vote that the BJP is particularly interested in at this point?
See, basically, he hails from Chikkodi and Belgaum segment of the Karnataka. And for a North Karnataka, we had to develop additionally. I mean, these are all long-term plans, right? The party has short-term and long-term plans. Long-term, we need to develop people in those areas who can move into the senior level leadership and take over. So we have to try some combinations now and then. This is one of the combinations we are trying out. And I think because of his dynamism, now he's a Maharashtra election in charge also for certain portion of Maharashtra, which is next to Belgaum. So I think it is over a period of time, if he develops as the right person, it will be good for the people of Karnataka and people of North Karnataka area. You see, evolution of leadership is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Overnight, you can't pick a person and say, he is the leader for you, you go with him. No, the leadership is a process actually. So at every stage, a mistake might have happened from his side. I do not deny that. And for that he has been punished. But we need to evolve a leadership in the whole process. That is what Bharatiya Janata Party is trying in Karnataka with 3 deputy CMs. Because we had earlier 2 deputy CMs who are not into the list now. Because they have already blown into certain level of...
you can have 5 deputy CMs, nobody is going to stop you. We are questioning the method of selection of these individuals. Ms. Adige, at the end of the day, this is how a democracy works.
It is a question of area and development.
No.
It is a very positive move what we are trying out.
We have not forgiven him.
That's all I can
and now we don't forgive you, Mr. Srinath. We don't forgive your party. I'll tell you what it is. This is how a democracy works. When someone does a bad job, they do not get elected in the next election. You cannot bypass that and decide that you are going to make him leader, deputy CM, even though he lost an election and he did what he did. Brinda Adige, I'll give you the last word on behalf of the women of the state of Karnataka. Now it's a question of whether or not you will forgive the Chief Minister for what he has done.
What is there for us to forgive? We do not want to forgive him. He's a criminal. How can forgiveness even enter over here? What happened to ethical behavior? What happened to being principled? Because you stand up there as being our representative. And if you cannot be ethical and you cannot be principled and you cannot maintain decorum in the assembly, you have no space. You have no job being there through the back door or through the side door, which is what the BJP has done with Savadi. Absolutely unacceptable. I don't think any woman in Karnataka wants him there.
I completely agree with Brinda Adige at this point. No woman in Karnataka wants this man to be Deputy Chief Minister. It is not a question about whether or not he has paid his price. He's not paid his price because he was not arrested. No case was registered against him and he didn't go to jail. So technically, by yardstick of law and order, he didn't pay any price. You cannot force fit him, retrofit him into the cabinet, even though he lost the election, and make him Deputy Chief Minister after what he did. There has to be an explanation offered by the Karnataka BJP. There has to be an explanation offered to the citizens of this state. You don't just forgive something like this. It's a question of ethics. It's a question of who our representatives are, who will make laws on behalf of the women of the state. This is not okay. Roll back this appointment immediately. Obviously, this shows that the government in Karnataka at this point is completely bankrupt of ideas and of talent. Find another option, please. We're going to take a quick break here now on the Urban Debate. We'll come back on the other side. We'll take a look at the RBI's 1.76 lakh crore rupees bonanza that it's transferring to the government. What does this mean for both the RBI and the government? The Amazon rainforest continues to be on fire. We're going to talk specifically about what that impact is on you. And in Uttar Pradesh, a law student, a young woman, has complained against a BJP leader, saying that he has ruined the lives of many young girls and he is now going to kill her. She has been missing since that video went up 3 days ago. And the police in Uttar Pradesh have barely done anything. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere.